Welcome back, everyone, to the Simple Plot of, the podcast where I try to simplify the plots of games as best to my ability. That was English I just tried to speak. As always, I'm your host, Cameron, and this episode, I am tackling something that is probably going to give me an aneurysm, but you know what? I'm going to power through anyway because I do this for you. I must feed the machine. It must constantly feed. Today, we are talking about Final Fantasy VII, a game that is highly complicated, a game that a lot of people love, myself included, and has a pretty like all over the place plot that a lot of people don't understand. But hey, that's what I'm here for. Now, I do want to say that I am going to be covering the original release of Final Fantasy VII. I'm not going to be talking about the remakes at all, like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm not going to be talking about those because those are technically it's the same game, but they're slightly different takes. Like some of the events happen differently, and I'll go into those in this episode. Before I get too into the episode, I do want to acknowledge a couple things that have happened recently, not video game related, but stuff that obviously means something to me, and I wanted to talk about it. I want to dedicate this episode to the memory of Ozzy Osbourne. As many of you have heard, Ozzy, the Prince of Darkness, passed away recently, just weeks after his farewell show. And as a big metal music lover myself, I was just like, I knew it was coming, but that doesn't make it hurt any less, you know? Ozzy is definitely a legend. He's like ethereal, I would say, and he definitely will be missed. Another celebrity that passed is Hulk Hogan. So rest in peace to him. My thoughts on Hulk Hogan, I could go into a whole different podcast, but that's not what we're here for. So anyway, I'm going to move on with that, and because you came here to hear about Final Fantasy VII. So without further ado, let's get into Final Fantasy VII. So before I get into the plot of the game, as always, we gotta go over the logistics, all the actual information about Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII released January 31st, 1997, and obviously released for the original PlayStation, but it also released for PC, PlayStation Network, iOS, Android, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and the PlayStation Classic. So you have the original that came out on the original PlayStation, but then it's been re-released digitally for other stores. Like, it's currently on the PlayStation Store now, so you can literally go and download it, which I highly recommend if you are, even if you're a fan of Final Fantasy or if you're just an RPG fan, I definitely recommend it. It is obviously the 7th installment in the Final Fantasy series. It was published by Squaresoft, which this was before Squaresoft published or partnered with a company called Enix, and obviously, you know, that merger turned them into what we know now as Square Enix. It was directed by, I apologize if I mispronounce these, Yoshinori Katase, produced by Hironobu Sakaguchi, and the music for the game, composed by Nobuo Uematsu, who is, chef's kiss. Mwah, chef's kiss of a composer. I don't have many video game soundtracks in my music library, but one of the ones I do have is the Final Fantasy VII mix, whether it's the remake or the original. I listen to the original more than the remake. And character designs in this game were also done by Tetsuya Nomura, who most people recognize as the main designer and one of the main guys behind Kingdom Hearts, which I dread the day I do that episode, because that's gonna be a long one. Like, even I feel like with Kingdom Hearts, even if I simplify the plot as much as I can, it's still gonna be a long episode. But anyway. Final Fantasy VII is the best-selling game in the series, with over 14.1 million units sold. And it is widely renowned as one of the most influential RPGs to date. And it's like when you ask anybody about Final Fantasy games, like which one is their favorite, most people, like I would say 85% of the people you asked would say Final Fantasy 7. And myself included, I grew up on Final Fantasy 7. It's actually my love for Final Fantasy 7, along with Disney, that got me into Kingdom Hearts in the first place. So, yeah, Final Fantasy 7 helped me also, gain a love for what is now probably my most favorite video game series of all time. But let's get into the plot, shall we? And as always, spoilers ahead for Final Fantasy VII. So let's start off by getting the setting out of the way. Like, what is Final Fantasy VII really as a whole? So we have the planet of Gaia, which a lot of people refer to just simply as the planet. There's 3 main continents. The planet is a living organism, what the fuck did I just try to say? Organism. The planet is, I lost my place. The planet is a living organism, and its lifeblood is the life stream, the liquid form being Mako that wells in the substrata. So basically, it's like think of the Earth. Obviously you have lava and everything at the core of the Earth. For Final Fantasy VII, that lava is the life stream, or Mako, basically. Above the surface, Mako crystallizes into materia that allows its users to manipulate the powers of the planet in a phenomenon many call magic. Harvesting Mako as an energy source drains the planet of its life and corrupts life forms, creating monsters in the wild. The planet was once home to the ancients, who called themselves the Cetra. The Cetra traveled the planet cultivating life wherever they went, and were said to be able to enter communion with the planet itself. At the end of their journey, legends tell, the Cetra entered the Promised Land, a place of supreme happiness. Sorry, I'm really burpy because I just had McDonald's before this. The dominant faction of the world is the Shinra Electric Power Company, a powerful corporation that harvests Mako as an energy source. Shinra is seen as responsible for raising the quality of life for everyone in its sphere of influence. It has its own army, its special force being Soldier, and is present in most parts of the planet. Shinra is opposed by a small terrorist organization known as Avalanche, who seek to stop Shinra from killing the planet by draining the lifestream. Shinra's base of operations is the metropolis of Midgar, ringed by 8 Mako reactors that drain Mako for energy. While the upper city is an industrial powerhouse with a generally high quality of life, the lower city is made up of slums and receives little light, and its air is polluted. The harvesting of Mako energy has made the area around Midgar a barren wasteland habited by monsters where flowers rarely grow. And now for this lovely game, our cast of characters. We have Cloud Strife, who is the main protagonist, and he introduces himself as a former member of Soldier who now operates as a mercenary. Cloud is caught up in the actions of the eco-terrorist group Avalanche, and although initially uncaring toward their mission, he has a change of heart when he begins to discover his shrouded past. We have Barrett Wallace, who is the leader of Avalanche. He wields a gun on his right arm in place of his injured hand, so literally instead of a hand, he has a gun for an arm. Despite his brash and loudmouth personality, he is a caring person and loves his daughter Marlene. We have Tifa Lockhart, who is Cloud's childhood friend and member of Avalanche, who runs the bar Seventh Heaven in the Sector 7 slums, which serves as the group's hideout. Her sympathetic exterior hides fearsome fighting skills. We have... Now, this is a big debate, because in this wiki it says Eris, A-E-R-I-S, but I've seen her name spelled as A-E-R-I-T-H. I don't know. Let me know on social media how you do it. But anyway, we have Aerith Gainsborough, a flower girl from the Sector 5 slums who befriends Cloud. Cloud's resemblance to someone she used to know mystifies Aerith, and she joins him and Avalanche on their quest to discover more about her heritage. We have Red 13, is a quadrupedal flame red beast capable of speech. The party rescues him from capture by Shinra. He speaks little, but when he does, his words are often important. The thing about Red 13 I love is that it's obviously the original didn't have any voice acting. The remakes do, but in the remake, when you first meet Red 13, he's just all like, I was experimented on by Hojo. I want to make him pay for everything he did. But then there's a part in, I believe, Rebirth, where you go back to, spoilers again, you go back to Cosmo Canyon, which apparently is his home or whatever, and he sees somebody who basically raised him, and his voice changes from like this deep, gravelly old man voice to like a very like high-pitched, excited teenager. He's just like, oh, what is this place? And then he sees the guy who was essentially his dad. He's like, oh boy! I love Red 13. He is probably one of my favorite party members. We have Kite Sith, who is a robotic cat atop a stuffed mod. A mod is a creature that's been throughout the Final Fantasy series to this date. He shouts commands to his mod in battle using a megaphone. Oh, Kite Sith also operates as a fortune teller at the Gold Saucer, which is the Final Fantasy World's version of like Las Vegas, basically. It's a huge like gambling place. Then we have Sid Highwind, who is a foul-mouthed, chain-smoking pilot of Rocket Town, and he dreams of being the first man in space. His dreams were foiled when he was forced to abort the mission. Despite his bitter attitude, Sid has a good heart and cares about his friends. And then there are two optional party members you can have in this game, which, if I could make a suggestion, definitely add them, because, you know, they're unique for sure. First off, one of your optional party members is Yuffie Kisaragi, who is first encountered as a mystery ninja, and she can be randomly encountered in any forest, really. She is a self-professed materia hunter, and she's sneaky and playful and, quote, hunts materia to restore her home of Wutai to its former glory. And the other optional party member you can get is Vincent Valentine, who is discovered sleeping in a coffin at Shinra Mansion in Nibelheim and is a former Turk with a traumatic past. After being subjected to numerous experiments, Vincent became able to transform into monstrous forms, but sealed himself in the coffin due to guilt in his past. Like Red 13, he speaks little but offers helpful advice when he does. And our main antagonist of this game, well, one of a few, is the man known as Sephiroth, who is a non-controllable temporary party member, because there's a part where you actually join him in a flashback scene. Like you do a battle in a flashback sequence, and temporarily part of your party is Sephiroth. After resurfacing years after being deemed dead, pursuing Sephiroth becomes the party's main motivation. Now, to try to simplify things, we are going to go over what actually happens in this game. Basically, you start out, like I said, as Cloud, thinking he's a former soldier, now turned mercenary, helps out Avalanche in their mission to destroy the Mako reactors, because Avalanche believes that Shinra is destroying the planet by harvesting Mako for energy. So, the first reactor they blow up goes pretty smoothly. Second reactor does not go that smoothly, because Shinra catches on to what they're doing, and instead of trying to stop them directly, they hatch a plan to mess with the reactor, and they basically sacrifice one of their own sections of the plate in Midgar in order to basically throw Avalanche under the bus, be like, oh, see, they did this. So yeah, they basically destroy, I believe it's all of Sector either 7 or 5, I don't remember. I think Sector 5, which is where, the Avalanche base is and everything else. So they willingly destroy part of their own city in order to still get everyone to turn against Avalanche. Meanwhile, we're finding out Aerith's backstory and all that stuff. Eventually finding out that she was one of the Cetra, who were, like I said, the beings that basically roamed the planet before everyone else and were synonymous with the life stream. So the initial plot, I guess, becomes, you're trying to take down Shinra and, destroy these reactors so that they can stop harvesting Mako. But then the plot shifts once Sephiroth gets introduced to Sephiroth basically finding out who he is and the fact that, why is he alive when everyone thought he was dead. And there's another character that they done mentioned in the character list, but there's Genova, who is thought to be the mother of Sephiroth, which turns out that a lot of clones are created from Genova. And with this information, Sephiroth kind of goes insane, finding out that there might be multiple like him, and goes on a mission to basically destroy the planet and everything that, Genova stands for. So, we go through most of the plot. You can kind of roam around, do whatever, but eventually you get to this central temple. And in that temple, you find a form of materia called black materia, which, if you use it, you can summon meteor. Sephiroth manipulates Cloud into giving him the black materia, so he obviously uses that to summon meteor. So throughout another good chunk of this game, you see this meteor that's coming towards the planet. Like, it's gonna destroy it, and you gotta basically find a way to stop it. And then Aerith just disappears to who knows where, because she is gonna work on a way to try to prevent meteor from happening. Like, she prays, obviously her being a Cetra, she has this power, this connection to the planet, and she uses that power to try to stop the meteor. And once you catch up with her, you find out that, hey, Sephiroth also caught up with her and just stabs her and kills her out of nowhere, which is probably one of the biggest things that people remember from Final Fantasy VII, just the whole era scene, if not for the theme, which I'm gonna find here because I want to play for you guys. If it's, like I said, it's the one thing that most people remember from this game. It is actually my ringtone currently. Wife, this is the wrong time for you to Snapchat me. I'm trying to teach people about music. But yeah, anyway, Sephiroth kills Aerith, and then there's the whole other part of the plot too, where Cloud finds out about his true nature and the fact that, like, he was never a soldier in the first place. He was just an infantryman, and his memories of being a soldier actually belong to another character, Zack Fair. Zack Fair was the one who was actually the soldier first class, and why Aerith recognized Cloud so well, like, she's like, oh, you look like somebody, is because she saw Zack in Cloud. Like, she could see Zack's memories in Cloud. So, Cloud still, with that, he accepts his past, and he's like, alright, we're still on a mission to stop Sephiroth, let's do that. So, you go through, my cat's gonna yell at me. Yeah, do you know that's part of Final Fantasy VII? My cat's just gonna meow at me the entire time. But they continue the mission to stop Sephiroth, eventually coming across this place called the Northern Crater, which the main Sephiroth clone, I guess, the Sephiroth you've been dealing with the entire game, is at. And he uses the black materia to become basically like a god. So you stop him, and at this point, before Aerith died, she casted a spell called Holy, which works with the light stream to stop the meteor. So the light stream, acts up, stops the meteor, and then we cut to like 500 years later, where all we see is Red 13, along with a few other cubs, presumably his children, just running through a field, and then they go up to a cliff, and you see Midgar that is starting to be overgrown with like vegetation and stuff. And basically showing that the planet is, after everything that you've done, everything that Sephiroth tried to do, the planet is healing itself. And that's kind of where the game ends off. It kind of leaves a lot of questions unanswered, even some that, like, I don't personally know. The one thing I do want to say, because like I said, the ending, it doesn't really say what happened to your characters. It just shows Red 13 and then shows the planet healing itself. It doesn't really go into what happened with everybody. The one thing I do want to cover in this episode is the differences between the original Final Fantasy VII and the remakes. Which give me a second here. I'm going to gonna pull up, not the Wikipedia, because it does not give me the specifics. Ooh, okay, so I found a Reddit post, people asking about the differences between the original and the remake. And Ace of Spades 334 here says, The original tells a story about an individual. The remake tells a different story. It has some focus on individuals, but it's a secondary one, as it assumes you already know the original story. So he keeps giving you hints and callbacks to that, but the overall story is different in a much more fairy tale way. The darkness is toned down, and it's now more similar to a Marvel superhero movie. It focuses on spectacle rather than substance. So if you want to see lots of gotcha moments, flashy fights, and don't really care about storytelling, go for remake. But if you want to experience the story, it's better to play the OG first, as the remake doesn't really tell it the same way. You know, from the beginning, what's about to happen, and the game assumes you do. If you don't, it's going to be confusing. That told me nothing. Literally, that told me nothing. The biggest difference between the original and the remakes is that the remake introduces these characters called specters, which are these ghost things that fly around. And they basically appear when somebody's about to die, like somebody important's about to die. And they kind of keep the timeline. They're like fate keepers, basically. They keep, like, a lot of people, like, a lot of the characters are trying to prevent somebody from doing something or, like, going off in a certain way. And these specters would be like, we'll stop them because they are keeping things how it should be. They're keeping the timeline going as they deem it should be. So yeah, the biggest difference is that, there's just a lot more differences in the remake versus the original to go over that I frankly don't have the energy or time to do. It's one of those things you gotta experience it for yourself. Like, play the original first, and then play the remakes and see how big a difference there is. But I think with that's going to be this episode of Final Fantasy VII. I have to poop, so that's why I'm ending this episode. I'm only half joking with that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I picked a really complicated game to do, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. If you want to give me suggestions on other games you want me to cover, let me know on social media. Link is in the description. And remember that I do episodes of this podcast every Sunday. So with that being said, I'm going to end this episode here. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys are doing positive things out there. I hope you guys are, just doing good in general out there. I've been Cameron, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.